emotion on
I
him?
mean, well, he grew up in South Africa. He came here for college, or he was in private school here first, and then
Why does he
for
have a weird
college.
South African accent?
Why doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because he worked really hard to get rid of it.
Okay. All right.
Because he had a publicist that said you can't sound like that,
Huh.
or everybody's gonna be like apartheid Elon.
Yeah, literally the home jersey for racism is like Afrikaans accent.
Yeah, like it's like that's worse than a Southern accent. Especially like, cause I mean, he was like 8 minutes. He left South Africa because they couldn't get rich off apartheid anymore, so they had to bring the family money over here and be like, where do they still manipulate black people? America.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
Okay. Okay. It's not the dick. It's the motion in the ocean or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm. You know what I'm saying? I
That's
need
what
to go.
guys with small penises say.
Yeah.
I don't know what I know what the average size is, and I know I'm bigger than
What's
that.
the average size, Tom?
Like what is it? Like 5'9" or 6'6"?
Oh God,
like
I
that?
was fucking around with my
Some
wife.
fun.
Her best friend is marrying this guy, and he's a really nice guy, but like he's too nice of a guy, and so like I'll fuck with him sometimes. And we were sitting around hanging out, and he said something about dicks. I can't remember what it was. I was like, you know what pisses me off? The fact that they make fucking porn with all these fucking little dicks.
That's hilarious that you would say that.
And he went, what? I went like, I was like, I get it that like, you know, I guess average dudes want to feel big when they watch porn. Like, and he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, porn. I was like, you've seen it. Like they use dudes have little dicks. And he was like, those are huge dicks. And I was like, that's ridiculous. He said, the average penis size is 5.5 inches. I was like, yeah, like around. That's what.
Now I know you're faking it.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like that-
but he went, what? And I went, and he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, circumference. Like that's what that number is. And I got him so worked up. I was like, you've never heard the saying like guys with big feet have big dicks? And he said, yeah, I have. I was like, yeah, because your dick is the same length as your foot. Like that's every guy.
Wow, that's.
And he like got so stressed out and so he like starts Googling shit. And I'm like, no, seriously, like take your dick. Like your dick is not the same length as your foot. And he went, no, nobody's is. I was like, mine is.
That's hilarious, man.
Really fucked him up. Finally, after like half an hour of doing this and him like Googling shit, being like, no, this is not it.
His search history all of a sudden is
Yeah.
That's.
But I found whenever I fuck with somebody like that, I always eventually be like, you know, I'm fucking with you, right?
That's
He was
really
like,
funny,
"Oh."
man. So how did what makes you like? At what point do you decide like? Are you surprised when you're doing that you're getting away with it, and then it encourages
Yeah, and then
you,
it
like,
snowballs
inside?
and it gets funnier and funnier. And
Like what's the mentality of you're like, okay, now I'm going to start fucking with this guy? Did you like?
he is a very nice guy.
Sounds like an easy mark.
Well, I
maybe.
feel like
But
done
he's-
this to me plenty of times. So I'm like it loses credibility because I
But no,
trust
but-
James as a trusted source.
But I
and I know
always-
he's done some research.
If I'm fucking with you, though, I always go, dude, I'm fucking with you, which I've done to you before.
Yes. I can't think of one, but you know what I mean?
All this shit like with like back when remember when I was fucking with you about like, oh, you're in a miserable marriage and all that kind of stuff. Well, I didn't know that at the time.
I thought you did. It really.
You were
it really-
pretending at the time to be really fucking happy.
Well, I really,
so.
there's so much about it that I love. So there is, you know what I mean? There is, but it's.
Well, you were talking about the like limited amount of sex that you were having.
Yeah.
And you know,
You were jumping onto that.
Yeah, and I was-
obviously you
James
should.
said, I had it about 70 times a week, and you're like, huh?
Oh yeah, maybe if your dick was as big as your foot, you wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah,
You're like, oh.
if you could satisfy your wife, maybe she still love you. You know, no wonder she doesn't want to put out. You got a regular dick.
Cutting it with those size 9s, dude.
Huh?
Not cutting it with those size 9s.
Dude, I got 11 and a half or 12, something
All right,
like that.
that's average.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, it's pretty middle of the road. You know, a little bit bigger than the average.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's all you need.
It is. So, I don't know. It's just funny, like that it's fun to do that. We were just like, Trundy was just talking about that. He was pretending like he didn't know he said he's going to start pretending he doesn't know who Elon Musk is.
That's
when people
fucking
ask.
wonderful.
Right?
That's an excellent way to handle it. I think I think everyone should start doing that.
Just pretending he doesn't exist.
No, just pretending you don't know who he is. That's a brilliant. That's so much better than I'm just sitting around and have the same argument for the 75th time where you're like, he's always been a piece of shit.
Okay.
Wait, have we started yet?
No, yeah, we already did. We started
Okay,
when you told the joke from your act that was so
Oh,
funny.
great.
Here's the thing. I'm getting ready.
Where's your mic?
I'm wearing it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I'm getting ready to read this Isaacson Elon Musk book,
Okay.
right? And Isaacson, I don't know if you've read anything by it, or listened to him. His biographies are great. I've read the Franklin, the Da Vinci, the Einstein, and the Steve Jobs. He made me a fan of Steve Jobs reading it. You know what I mean? Or made me at least have somewhat of an understanding of Steve Jobs' mind a little bit.
Okay, so he doesn't write honest biography.
No, he does. He does. What do you mean? What do you mean?
He made you like Steve Jobs and he wrote an honest biography about him? I don't think so.
No, yeah, no, he made me like him because of his
Parenting.
no, exactly. Those are the things you don't like about it. Like
You-
you know what I mean?
you need to read-
I like his mind and the way he stuck to these things. What he stuck to, like my product needs to be my product and run on the system we design and not be open to everybody else because mine is better. And everybody insisted, no, we do it this way, we do it this way, and he was right. His method was better.
To become a billionaire,
Yeah, he was also a salesman, I guess when you get to I'm just talking about the creative side, the things that he insisted on the phone, something about the way he cared about how the inside of the phone looked, you know what I mean, and how it felt in his hand, and like he's like, no, this doesn't work, that's not easy, and he didn't put up with people that were not great at what they did. They would, like, if someone comes in with a PowerPoint and they're doing, he's like, shut that shit, that's awful, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
What do you got? Like, if you're not good enough, you're gone. Like, he was kind of a dick that way, obviously. But I admire his inventiveness and the way he insisted on creating things that didn't exist, and, you know, that kind of stuff. And he made me,
But that's the
he made me
problem. That's the
understand
problem
Benjamin
with the
Franklin
book.
a little bit more. He's not right. Maybe I'm wrong about Isaacson, but he's a good writer. So I'll see what he does with Elon Musk.
Read biographies written by Robert Caro. Robert Caro wrote stuff like The Power Broker, about Robert Moses, the guy that controlled you. He wrote a bunch of LBJ biographies. He is so much better at telling you how these people gained all this power and also showing how fucked up they were, while also acknowledging the amazing things they accomplished, but also being like, but also you can't become that if you're not a dick. Like he doesn't say
that about Jobs. He says that about he kind of makes it clear about Franklin. You know what I mean? He talks about Einstein marrying his cousin and how he treated his kid. Like, there seems to be a thing. If you treat your kids like shit, you're pretty good at things, and you make millions. That's where I come from as a dad. So you know what I'm saying. So I'm hoping that this me being a shitty dad really helps me turn into something. You know,
or your son becomes like a really good thing.
I mean, I don't know though. Your son seems to have turned out well. Yeah. He's a functional human being.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing fine.
Yeah.
He's
you couldn't have done that bad of a job.
I did fine. No, I'm saying that was kind of a joke. I'm being a shitty dad so that I too could be Einstein, because I wanted to be as curious. Right. So you're saying you're on the so Trundy made a point yesterday. Oh, you should talk about a little bit about Musk with people before you read it, and then talk about it being interesting. Because I don't really have anything to talk about. So this is good.
I mean, my take is I've always argued. I thought Elon Musk was a piece of shit before it was cool to say he was a piece of shit.
When did you even start to understand who he was?
I mean, as soon as anybody, because whenever anything new comes along and people are like, no, man, Elon Musk is the shit because he's doing electric cars and blah, blah, blah. I was like, but he's a billionaire, right?
So like, being a billionaire automatically disqualifies you and makes you a piece of shit.
You cannot become, it's hard to conceptualize how much a billion is.
Okay.
I mean, how many, we can't, when you, if you sit down and do the math and you can make $100 an hour working 40 hours a week, and it would take you 700 years or whatever to become a billion.
Do you think it's ironic that people that are billionaires are probably the only ones that can actually do that math?
But they can't. Like So I always approach the idea of anyone that's a billionaire, anyone that's got that kind of money, there's probably something wrong with them. So let's dig in and find out what that is. Like fucking Elon Musk, like everybody's shocked now when he says like racist shit. And I'm like, this dude is an Afrikaner South African jewel miner. That's where he came from. Like, how is anybody surprised that he's like racist and anti-Semitic?
What do you mean he's a
like,
jewel miner?
His dad owned like emerald mines and shit.
Yeah.
Like that's where he got his money from. All that he had a great publicist. He could afford it, and he
His publicist is
understood.
better now.
Oh, his publicist now doesn't exist. Like clearly, because now he's to the point he's actually gotten enough power that he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't have to sell himself anymore. For years, it was fucking puff piece after puff piece written about that guy. That doesn't happen if you don't have a publicist. That nobody's writing glowing stories about most of the billionaires. They only started doing it about him because he had the right PR machine behind him.
So you didn't just pick an arbitrary number by going to billionaire, and from then on you're a piece of shit. What's like how low down into the millions can you go? How many hundreds of millions
do you know anyone that's got in excess of say $50 million that you can't say it fucked their brain up?
Dave Chappelle.
Totally fucked his brain up.
What do you mean?
He has no perspective on the world anymore. This is like, look, it's. I mean,
really?
I mean, okay. I think Patrice O'Neal put it best when he said, "You can't be great once you're not riding the bus anymore." And it was obviously there was hyperbole in that statement because you can still be great, but like. I mean, I said, like, you and I have had this conversation.
I just don't know if that's true. I mean,
sit in a room.
I'm instantly going Bill Burr.
Burr's not as good as he used to be.
Well, he's on his 10th hour, dude. Come on, give him
Right.
a break.
Look, I recognize all that, and you're turning over material quickly, and it's not as, and I get all that, and I understand all that, but when you get a certain amount of success and wealth, it is hard for the people around you to be honest critics because there is something that they can gain from being around you. So you don't have as many friends calling you out for being like, bruh, that joke's a bit hacky. Or come on, dude. Like, really? You didn't think that?
About that, Tom?
I mean, so
we had a good conversation about Mr. Rife. That was great.
Yeah, there is and for somebody to the extent of like an Elon Musk. That guy, all of the tech billionaires, we went through a stretch where everyone was starting to try to sell the world on these great billionaires. All these puff pieces started showing up about Steve Jobs, about Elon Musk, Zuckerberg. When Facebook first came out, he was cover of magazines, how great he was. I mean, I would say probably the best of the billionaires is Warren Buffett. But even that was propaganda because they did these puff pieces where they're like, see, he stops at McDonald's on his way into his billionaire factory every morning and he has an Egg McMuffin. He's just a normal guy like you. Look, he lives in a regular house. He doesn't live in a mansion. Like it's all nonsense. Like that guy put so many people out of work. Like Musk has fucked over so many people. Anybody pushing social media, they're all just sitting there trying to cash checks. Like I respect.
So you're saying, all right, as a kid, right? He comes up rich as a child of an emerald miner who on the backs of basically slaves that are digging in caves for things. Okay, and then
that's where he got his start.
That's where he got his soul, and then from there,
or lost it.
And then from there, when did he start like all of a sudden Elon Musk was Elon, like all of a sudden he was just everywhere. He's like Marco's Pizza.
He was an early investor in, was it PayPal?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was an early investor in PayPal, and so he got an inordinate amount of money from that.
So he didn't earn any money along the way until then. He just said, Dad, can I have some money? I like this company.
And look, he was a venture capitalist with money that he started off with from his dad, and he did start small. PayPal wasn't big when they launched it. He didn't have to put a crazy amount of money into it, but the value of it skyrocketed as soon as people figured out what it could do, but he also didn't get to run it. So he basically took his money and moved on
Cashed
to the
out.
next thing. And he
So
invested.
he was like, I want to make a
didn't
bunch
start
of money so
like
that I can do what I
Yeah.
want to do. And then he started doing what he
yeah,
wanted
he
to
didn't
do.
invent PayPal. He threw money at PayPal early on. He
Okay.
didn't invent Tesla. He basically bought it out early on because he came in with a bunch of money. He hasn't invented anything. He is great at marketing. He is great in the way that Steve Jobs was great at when it came to Teslas, making sure they were cool looking. He had the basic sense to be like, what if we made an electric car that didn't look as douchey as a Prius?
But that's funny.
Like,
But
I mean,
But don't you think at the time, when, like, I remember in the early 2000s being like, holy shit, with the way we're headed with the planet and with climate change, we need to be working towards hydrogen engines, electric car engines.
Of course.
And
Look.
and there was a bunch of like, well, we tried that and it's just it's not accomplishable. Was basically the overall oil billionaires that were, spending all that money on the climate denial movement, and we can't do this, it can't be accomplished. And he sort of threw money at it and went, yes, it can. And then
he threw money at it because, one, again, you have to think about, he was smart enough to throw money at things. Everybody knew electric cars were possible. Like, there was never an argument about whether or not it was possible. They didn't want it to happen.
But Tim Slagle and I had an argument about whether it was on stage, and he I remember him. He just went after me like I was an idiot for even thinking that it was a possibility. Like this is the same guy who told me poverty didn't exist in America.
Right. Look, you can find an idiot to argue anything. Like,
the problem is these guys.
Or not idiot. You can find
right. They're very smart, and then they just think differently, and they're wrong.
But if all of your eggs are in a basket that makes you have a certain opinion,
right.
You can't.
Well, that's what I mean. Your opinion, all your eggs seem to be in the fuck Elon Musk basket, is what I'm saying.
I mean, all my eggs are definitely. Look, there are things. Starlink is a wonderful thing. The fact that there are people in the most rural places on the planet now that can get actual good high-speed internet.
Unless you're in war and he needs it, then you're shutting it off.
We're right, but the problem is, like, while the progress, this is why I don't.
A guy like that could
But look, I am not anti-capitalist. I am not a socialist. I am not a I believe in capitalism plus. I believe in the beauty and benefits of capitalism. There are amazing things like Starlink, but at the same time, you have to also regulate it. Because you can have a private company that owns a satellite, but you have to have a government that can say to them, you can't fucking turn it off in war zones.
What if my government is a bunch of assholes and they're doing the wrong thing?
Because you can at least vote. Like, at least when it comes to...
If I own the shit and they're like, we're bombing a country, and I'm like, you can clearly see that it's wrong, I'm like, fuck you can't use my shit. Like, I own this. Like, I don't care. I'm a regular human being. I built this thing.
But that's why you shouldn't.
I don't have to turn it over to some government that spends billions and billions of dollars. Fuck, the government is a billionaire. Fuck them. They're the evil people. Like, how do I know that's not the case?
The difference is,
as a regular guy that has money and figured it out and is like, oh, they have this system where if I just make more money than everybody, then I don't have to pay attention to their stupid rules. And you do that, you could limit the power of governments, and which is.
But I don't want to limit the
bad. But the governments are terrible and corrupt.
The governments are, of course, governments are terrible and corrupt, but they're not as bad as corporate America. I mean, if you think, and if you have been roped into the idea that corporations are better than, look, there is no accountability when it comes to corporate America. They own monopolies. They have control over things.
Okay, yeah,
like, at least with government, you can vote out. It would take a massive fuck up to actually dump all the politicians. But there's at least a system in place if it gets too bad that you can change the system.
I don't think you can. I think the system is the corporations own the system.
We elected, look.
It doesn't matter. They changed all the laws.
Look, I am not a Donald Trump person, but fucking Donald Trump got elected president. And that happened because a massive number of people in this country went, this system is fucked. The entire thing is collapsing around us. I mean, all these rural people, the reason they're all voting for Trump is because he says crazy shit, yes, but also because they recognized that something that they couldn't comprehend was happening around them. All this tech money and all this, like, I actually heard people defending Walmart. Because, well, at least Walmart gives people around here jobs. Amazon don't hire nobody. Everybody work at Amazon. Where the distribution center is. Like these huge companies come in and they drain every resource out of small towns.
Right.
Like no wonder that people have lost their minds. And if you don't think the system can get flipped, then that's crazy. You think anybody that was running...
You know where there's a Target that I shop at? At the place that used to give everybody jobs, the textile mill. Like, how is the textile mill any better than the Walmart? The textile mill is just paying people as little as they can, blah, 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 and they're churning out
Well,
products.
it's the number of people that had a job. There were more people that at least had a job, where Walmart had fewer, and now Amazon has even fewer. You and I have been having this argument since...
Textiles.
But you and I have been having this argument since we met, because you believe that there will always be a new set of jobs.
Yeah. When the robots come along and people are like, they're going to take my job, well, good. Become a robot repairman. You got it. You know what I'm saying?
But there's not enough robots to repair. We're literally dealing with that right now.
Elon Musk, I saw a video. His fucking robot is cool, man. The way it can move its hands.
Of course it's cool.
And that's like...
This is why.
So,
this is why you have to...
So I'm going to read this book and find out. But you're saying like you can save me some time.
He's not Satan.
Right.
I mean, he is no worse than clearly, based on what you just said, you would be if you had that kind of money and power. It's just fundamentally no individual should have that much money and power.
I don't.
Without some system to remove them from power.
I don't disagree with that, but I can't go 100%. So on 100%.
I'm not 100% on it either. There's obviously... like I said, I am not anti-capitalism.
So he comes along, like, where did he go to, like, do you know anything about, like, his, like, as a kid, was he, like, winning science fairs? And, like, has he always been this crazy?
No.
Like, he was just, like, a spoiled rich kid, and then he put some money in a thing that gave him money, and he was like, I like electric car, I'm going to go do that. Like, where did he develop his mind? And do you know all that kind of information on
I mean, well, he grew up in South Africa. He came here for college, or he was in private school here first, and then for
college. Why does he have a weird
college.
South African accent?
Why doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because he worked really hard to get rid of it.
Okay. All right.
Because he had a publicist that said, you can't sound like that, or everybody's going to be like, apartheid Elon.
Yeah, literally the home jersey for racism is like Afrikaans accent.
Yeah, like it's like that's worse than a Southern accent. Especially like, because I mean, he was like 8 minutes. He left South Africa because they couldn't get rich off apartheid anymore. So they had to bring the family money over here and be like, where do they still manipulate black people? America. Yeah. Let's go there.
Okay. That's a fair statement.
Buy into that system.
Yeah. Okay. So then they come here they come here when he's a teenager or a young kid.
I think. Well, his dad's still there. Like his dad. It's so funny because his dad threw him under the bus on all this stuff because all his publicists and PR people, and probably the way it's framed in that book.
Do you think that's why he invented an automated car so the bus wouldn't run over him?
I hope he gets run over by an automated bus. I think that would be the best way for him to go out.
I also think they'll be better at driving than humans quickly, just because humans we're not good at it.
Malcolm Gladwell did the best. On his podcast, he did an episode. He was like, the beauty or the problem with autonomous cars isn't the fact that they're going to kill a lot of people. It's that they won't.
Yes, I used to do a joke about it.
Yeah, and everybody's going to realize
20 to 30,000 bodies a year that they're going to lose from organ donation.
Right.
So the organ donation people are worried that they're like, oh, too many people are going to live.
But that's not even more, because they're like, oh, as soon as there's, all these automated cars, they're going to be so efficient because they're going to merge into each other perfectly. And so cars will be able to move faster. The problem with them is they all, if something steps in front of them, they stop. And as soon as people no longer fear the idea that the car's going to hit them.
Oh my God.
They're just going to walk out in the street. There'll be absolutely
right.
There'll be no way because we're all going to have the streets back and traffic is going to be at a shutdown standstill because they all know the car will stop.
People are just going to not care at all.
Yeah.
They're just going to, because people only think about themselves.
Right.
So they're just going to be, as I'm driving, they're just going to be like, yeah, I want to be over there.
Yeah.
And they're just going to walk.
And they don't have to worry about the fact that you're not paying attention. The car's not going to start yelling,
Well, the car can't stop that quick, right? If I'm going down the highway, if I'm going down the road, it's 45 miles an hour and you step out in front of my car, it's just not going to give me whiplash so that it can save your life, is it?
But it's not going to be that every single time. It's the combination of everyone going anytime they need to cross the street, not even looking because they know the cars are going to stop. If it's right on top of them, they mount it. But you don't think that's going to slow down and compound and build up? Imagine New York
people
City.
don't like to walk.
Imagine
Most
New
people
York City, all of a sudden, all the traffic, and everybody knows that the car's going to stop.
Then that,
Can't ram the fence like in the action movies anymore.
yeah, I keep having Hicks had a bit about the pedestrian right away law.
Oh,
in
yeah, and
LA.
the wipers and the, that was
like-
such a great bit.
and then he circles it all the way back around when he does the
Hit the gas!
Yeah, with the Reginald Denny joke, it's a stupid pedestrian right-of-way law. Like, it's such a genius. Yes. So yeah. So, okay. So Elon, he comes over here when around 15, 16, or as like 7, 8, or does he come around 20?
No, I think he was. I think it was like late teens, early 20s. I don't know. He may have been here going to private school, or he may have been somewhere. Like, I mean, I don't know like I said, I've never read that. I haven't.
Right.
I've never grabbed a book that thick, but I recognize the fact that he's trying to build spaceships so he can escape the planet. Like, that's not a good person.
Well, again, I look around the planet and I'm like, where should I move for what's coming? And there isn't a place. So if I had the money, I might be like, hey,
Buy some bogland in Michigan, you'll be set.
well, it's if the planet's not livable, then it's, and the atmosphere gets destroyed, which would happen as the carbon levels keep going up. Anyway, we don't want to get into this discussion. I'm saying
you are everybody's grandma who believed that Jesus was coming any day now. Like, that is like, look,
for someone who says he reads, you think it's okay to just deny 98% of the science in the world?
I'm not denying the science. I'm just saying that there's going to be functional solutions.
Okay.
Look, no. Let me be clear. I buy into all of the climate
I just
science.
don't believe
I don't question that at all. I mean, I question it the same way I question anything. But no, I'm not by no means a climate denier, none of those things. I'm simply saying there will be technological thing. Will the planet function the way it exists now? No.
With humans, you mean?
No, but humans aren't going anywhere. We are a virus, a poison. You think we're going to stop them by just destroying this
Not
planet?
if Elon Musk doesn't help us get into space. We won't. So somebody like that, I'm just saying.
But we aren't getting into space. He's getting into space.
Okay.
You're here.
Okay,
You're dead,
okay,
Tom.
okay, that's fine.
Your
Again,
kid is fucked.
I know. Again,
In a space program.
I'm hypothetically not saying that he's a good person. I'm saying that
His solution's not saving you or anyone you love.
you're right, but that's not. I don't think that's happening anyway. I think that that's what I mean. In my mind, I'm a little like, okay, we're never going to convince humans to fix this and to stop living this way, and that it runs into the laws, the basic laws of life. Like, life exists within this temperature range, blah blah blah. So those, if we're not going to do anything, and I am in a position like that, I'm going to be like, okay, to save it's even a better thing, really, in theory. You're not going to save humans or life, period, according to some of the science.
You don't
So
think
if you believe
Mars
that-
right now is less hospitable than, like, I mean, it's a fucking hellscape with no air.
Yes.
Like, if we can make Mars livable or the fucking moon livable, then we can figure out how to survive the temperature in this planet jumping up 50 degrees.
could, except for the under this theory, what this planet has that makes it unfixable is humans, right?
Right,
Up
but
there-
you're sending humans to
Yes, I know.
Mars.
We're,
Like,
we're trying again. We're starting with a big pyramid, right, or whatever we do to start again, right? Then, and yes, you can, in theory, with again, like, I agree with you. I've had a joke for years. He thinks he can colonize Mars and then terraform it, make it. We should do something on this planet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We should colonize that place on the wireless coverage map. Whatever. I don't go into the country voice like that, but anyway.
The thing that gets me is like,
well, if you did, you do better.
Yes, but
as a comic.
but they can with the way you can create atmospheres, right? In theory, by releasing.
You should also be able to pull shit out of atmospheres.
You should be able to, yes. So we should. That's what I'd like to see him getting on. You know what I mean? So
I just
anyway,
don't like how the
I'm
people
just
who are going to solve all the world's problems are looking at it like a business thing. Like, he's a business guy.
Right.
Yes, well,
I
that's
don't wanna
yes.
approach saving humanity like how you would a business.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's just start over. It's not like bankruptcy. You can't just start humanity over
But
again.
billionaires can, because they can.
Yeah.
But
I think you can. in
Elon Musk and a
theory,
bunch
like
of freaking strippers are going to be on Mars in their colony, and then we're all going to be dead. At least, like, dude, I have the whole bit about it. It's like, you can say what you want about the horrible monsters of the Walmart people, but at least they're fucking stuck here dead with us.
Yes.
Like Bezos and fucking Musk, they're about 3 more times he's going to get like shit on for something he says on Twitter, and he's going to be like, fuck it. He's out of here. He doesn't care.
I would like to see him working more on stuff like how
They're
to
all
fix the
autistic.
atmosphere.
Like all the tech billionaires are such fucking severely autistic weirdos. Like no one, like of course they have stupid weird ideas and crazy thoughts.
I
Like,
think it's cool. I love it. I think Einstein was similar. I think we need that as humans to spark.
Right, but they shouldn't.
To spark evolution, thought to the next thing, and breaking through this veil of reality that we perceive as the real thing. And maybe it is part of like what you're talking about. Like people get disgusted enough with billionaires and money that we're like, we got to change that system. And we got to change that. So, and then we break
Einstein
through
with
the
a
next
professor's
system, you know?
salary and book publishing money is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to this planet. Einstein with fucking $80 billion. Who the fuck knows how much damage that guy would have done? Like my point is, look, is there some genius behind Elon Musk? In a way there is. I mean, it's not a technical genius because clearly anybody that worked for him at Twitter, the fact that the way they get him out of the room is they just make up nonsense to agree with him. And because he's fucking clueless about any of it, he goes, okay. And he just leaves.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah. There's like 50,000 articles now about the way that the employees of Twitter like just fucking troll him because he comes in saying, we need to do this, that, and the other. And then he'll be like, actually, we already do that. He's like, what? Yeah, you just have to, and then they'll give him like a 2-minute. Okay. The people that tried to push back like had massive issues, and then the ones that realized it's the same with Trump. Like you just lie to him, tell him whatever it is. Oh yeah. Half the people that were working in Trump's administration, he would get on one of his little freakout sessions, and they'd be like, "Oh no, we already you go, oh okay."
Huh.
That's why he didn't get anything accomplished while he was president. He was too incompetent and stupid to do anything.
But there is an argument that he did get things accomplished. I hate the guy. But there's a lot of people that believe, wait, he did get a lot accomplished. They also think January 6th was
right.
I don't want to talk about Trump. I fucking hate that guy. So
legislatively,
until
he
Isaacson
didn't
writes
get anything.
Writes a biography on Trump, I don't give a fuck about Trump. You know what I'm saying? Or who's the?
I'd read it.
Huh?
Read it. Just out of curiosity.
I think anything written about him is going to be written
Sure.
from
that's with everybody.
from a one side or the other, and from where they start, and then they're going to build that story, right? So if it's
subjective.
the pro Trump one, it's going to be, obnoxious and.
I mean, there's no pure objective anything.
Okay, so I'm trying to get to the bottom of your Elon Musk hate, and it all starts with he's a billionaire.
Right.
Okay. And
I don't hate the guy. I don't fucking know the guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's what I'm interested in finding out. Like this is a hugely influential guy. Maybe he just bought Twitter because he was like, he got mad at him one day because they
unfortunately he had the money that he could do that, and a person shouldn't have that kind of money.
I don't know. I kind of like that he fucked up Twitter. To be honest,
I'm fairly sure if the three of us went and played a round of golf with Donald Trump, we'd probably have fun. He's clearly funny in a room if you're hanging out with him. He's charming to people face to face. Like, I don't think I would hate Donald Trump if I was in the room with him. I just know that he's fucking crazy and shouldn't be the president. Like, right. I want somebody Obama's probably boring as fuck to hang out with. But I liked him as president because he was he's way too stable and rational to be somebody that I'd enjoy hanging out with.
Yeah, I don't want a president I can have a beer with.
Yeah, that's the George W. But that's the problem with the way that Republicans vote is they vote for people that they want to fucking hang out with. Ronald Reagan and fucking Bush and Trump. And the only way you can get elected.
Why would you want to hang out with those people? Ugh.
You don't think George W. Bush, back when he was still drinking and doing coke, was fun? That guy was a blast at a party. You don't think that guy was fun to hang out with?
Maybe.
Come on, Tom.
Maybe.
He was a fucking people pleaser.
He could talk baseball to me.
Yeah, you'd sit there and he'd be talking to you about the fucking brain. He'd be throwing out some fucking stat about, you're like, with Tom Glavine and this and that and the other. And you'd be like, yeah. Like, I don't think they're, as humans to hang out with, they're these monsters. It's their incompetence that's just doing massive amounts of damage.
You wouldn't go see a Rangers game with George Bush, Tom?
Yeah.
Michelle Obama loves George W. Bush. Like, have you ever seen videos of the two of them when they're at these like things and they're sitting together and like she's sitting there like he's handing her like a fucking lollipop or whatever and they're giggling and laughing and hugging and whatever? Like, as a person.
Yeah, but I have somehow, for some reason, I have a book about that thick, Decision Points, a book by George Bush, I guess, that he wrote his own thing after he was president.
Yeah.
I will never pick that up and read it.
I mean, and realistically, he did do more damage than Trump did.
Yeah,
But that was because he had more competent people around him to do. I mean, he started multiple wars.
He had such competent people around him that he didn't have to do anything.
Well, no,
put
he
him
had
on
people
vacation while they
competent
planned
enough
9/11.
around him to do real damage. He started multiple wars. He did a far more damaging tax cut. He did real fundamental existential damage to this country in a way that Trump didn't, simply because Trump was too incompetent to. Trump did things that are damaging the country, but not nearly as much because he was the kid that they just hand the controller to when people were playing video games. Like, you know, when you're playing a video game and your kid keeps wanting to play, and so you just hand them a controller that's not even plugged up, they sit there pushing buttons. That was the Trump presidency. Like, he didn't do as much. I mean, the Republicans that were there, they did damage, but it wasn't him doing it because he didn't have a fucking clue what they were doing.
Yeah, I remember when Bush got elected. That's the time of my life where I gave up on humans, and I gave up on this country.
I think that's fair. I think it's okay to.
When he was elected, like literally the night he was elected, I can't even.
Which
remember
time?
The first election.
No, I'm talking about like when he lost, but they said he won, and then they went to court.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Again, like, yes, like that kind of. You see how I get a little angry?
You kind of sat back a little.
Isn't it funny that
a Rumsfeld or a Cheney though?
Everything that Republicans do is just them taking.
I would say at least there was a Cheney, but Cheney was like, to me, he was an evil fuck that used George Bush as the cover and then sort of like so that, and the fact that the way they stole that election and took it and then. And
makes you want to storm the Capitol,
right?
Yes,
right?
Yes, like yes.
But think about the connections of everything Republicans do is just a hacky version of what Democrats already went through. Republicans actually stole an election by having the Supreme Court overturn and stop counting votes. So
after
fake
they cut about
news,
200,000 black people off the rolls before, like at election day, like they were ahead of the game in how to cheat. On how to restrict vote, like it.
Yeah, of course, Republicans think you can steal elections because they did it. Like, of course, they think the system's rigged because they've rigged it before. Like all the things. Of course, they know they can call MSNBC fake news because they heard us calling Fox News. I mean, the whole fake news thing was our joke. Liberals making fun of Fox News. Every goofy thing Republicans do is just their hackneyed version of the shit that we've already been complaining about. And they just take it and repurpose it. Who do you think
is worse for humans, Elon Musk or Greg Gutfeld?
For me personally, probably no. I feel for somebody that would take a job there. I'm sure Greg, again, I bet he's way more fun to hang out with at a bar than, well, you are sober, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. You and I have good sober fun though. Like we have fun conversations.
I don't know that I've been around you much when you've been drunk, or do you even drink anymore?
Yeah.
I don't think I've been around you drunk.
Yeah.
Would you hug me and stuff? Would you be like that?
Have you ever seen me
happy
on stage?
Yeah. Are you drunk on stage?
A lot of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Like, how drunk do you get before? Like, do you need to get drunk before you go on stage?
No. The first couple of years, I always had at least 2 beers within half an hour before going on stage.
Okay.
And I mean, now I'll still have a beer too, but I don't. Usually, I don't. You were with me when we got pulled over, and the cop thought I was drunk.
Oh yeah, that's
remember?
True. That's true.
But no, so I controlled a lot more than I used to. I don't get.
Start out like as a nerves thing, and then just turn into a ritual, or was it like?
But again, I don't. That was an overstatement because I don't get to the point that I can't get drunk.
I think what he's saying is like, when you're shooting pool or throwing darts and you drink 2 beers and it's like it just You're just a little bit relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
That was early
where
on.
he has 4 beers and can't hit the
Right.
board. You
But
know
that
what I
was that was definitely early on in comedy for the longest time. It was always at least 2. And I mean,
when you were working when you did the.
I mean, Trundy saw me so blackout drunk that he open hand slapped me in the face because I kept telling him to do it.
Huh?
Because he was like, "You're fucked up, man. Just stop." And I was like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "I'm gonna slap shit at you." I was like, "Fucking do it, bitch. Do it. Fucking slap me in the face."
Yeah, what is wrong with us when we do stuff like that? I used to do
Because it was hilarious.
Getting slapp's pretty funny.
Like I was so, but like I just shit hammered drunk. Like
Okay.
Trundy's seen me fall down drunk. I've also seen Trundy fall down drunk.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen either one. That's why I don't really seen that. To be
Yeah,
honest,
but that's because I now go home after the show.
Right.
But since you met all of us, you've always been a go home after the show. You were never a
Go
stick
hang out.
around and hit the, up till 4:00 in the morning, stumbling into a Waffle House.
Yeah, although I would go to the Waffle House and I would go. I have no problem. I'm up till that late most of the time anyway.
Right.
But
But you were going home to your
I
family.
would like to go back and hang out and sit around and go through jokes and talk about the shows and like that kind of stuff. More back then at least,
Yeah.
not as much now. But
But yeah, you never hung out as long. I mean, you would stick around and chat and shoot shit with us. Like you and I, like we went and grabbed lunch a couple of times during the day.
yeah, generally when I'm home, I'm like I have stuff to do. You know, and I wanted to be around my wife and son, or
But even when you and I have been on the road, like after the show, you still
Oh, yeah, that's
we would
true.
go grab something to eat or whatever and sit around and shoot shit for a little while. But
Yeah.
then you'd head back because call the wife. And I mean, now I'm in the same boat because I'm married too, and I'm not going to be closing down the bar.
Were you drinking a couple beers every night, or were you drunk when you work with when you work with Chappelle, or were you more like I need to be on my game, or is that part of being on your game, or?
The first show I did with Chappelle, I didn't have time to do anything because remember you were at I literally had 40 minutes notice
Right.
to get there and get on stage. I don't even think I changed shirts. And I was starting to freak out. And then you and I were on the phone and you said, he's not going to watch your set anyways.
Oh, yeah.
So because the thing that I was worried about was Dave Chappelle seeing me not do well, I wasn't thinking about the size of the crowd. And so I just walked out completely not worrying about it because he's not watching my set anyways. And so I had a really good set that night and got invited back. But that was because if I had had time to think about it, I would have thought about, oh, that's a really big crowd. But I don't know. Big crowds don't bother me anyways, though, because somebody in this room is going to laugh.
Right.
And, laughter spreads. So I love a big crowd. 8 people scare me way more than 2,000.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's fair. Now, my question was though, when you did that, then you had a little run of dates with him, and then another one. Were you drinking before those shows?
I might have had a couple of beers.
So your normal.
Yeah. But at that point, I was past the needing to drink to not be scared on stage.
Okay.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
That transition you make.
Yeah.
Now mostly it's just I usually have a beer with me on stage, especially if I'm doing an hour, and I'll usually have 2 or 3 during my set.
All right. Back to Elon. All I know about him is what we all know. I know just a little bit of that. And then from the flap, it talks about where he starts as a kid is after it starts sort of talking about how he had a bunch of bullies beat the shit out of him. And then how his dad treated him too. That's sort of what stamped his sort of character in the first place. And then from there, and then it's going to go from there. So you're saying already, oh look, they're setting up to be overcome and being.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I give Isaac some credibility, and I don't even know why. I don't really know if anybody else does. Those have been
Isaacson
good books that I've
only
read.
has the information that he got.
He does pretty extensive research, man.
I know
and he gets kind of exclusive rights to interviewing them and their families and these things, and they have, in theory, or what he says is they have no say in how the book comes out,
right,
and what's in the book,
right,
and what they're allowed and not allowed to talk about.
But when you have Elon Musk level money, you can make massive things disappear, not be findable. Now,
That's true.
I mean, I am sure there are anecdotes that are true about things that happened to Elon Musk in his youth. And again, it was to this day, Elon Musk still argues that his dad didn't own an emerald mine, but his dad literally put pictures out of his son at the emerald mine. Like, so it's, and Elon Musk still says, and Elon still in interviews, he claims his dad didn't give him any money, but someone gave him the money that he invested. Like and so again, I don't know the super specifics. This isn't like, I haven't researched him the way that I would research most things, but I know enough about him to know that he's fucking dangerous.
Do you think he's pushed humanity forward at all with some of his inventions and some of his, or the things that he's had invented?
The Nazi scientists that were doing research on twins and concentration camps pushed society forward. That doesn't mean they were good people. That doesn't mean what they did wasn't evil. The fact that we've benefited from some of that research, I mean, that doesn't make how they did it or like, I mean, the freaking the testing they did in the 1940s on starvation to soldiers, like to guys to the conscientious objectors. They did these starvation studies because they knew they were going to have to deal with a Europe that was starving, right? So they got all these conscientious objectors and they literally starved them for 6 months to find out what happens to the human body.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you go almost zero nutrients for an extended period of time. Well, the idea was they had to figure out how to bring them back and
because
get
I've
them.
seen a lot of videos that are like, hey, if you fast for 4 days, it's going to turn you into a new human being.
Well, yeah, but 6 months where all you get is like 200 calories of rice for 6 months. Like these get like, and it wasn't controlled. Like they controlled the food that these guys were having, but they didn't like have any psychological treatment for them. So they were literally wandering around Minneapolis, like hungry, and people thought they just saw these ghost men walking around town.
Why didn't they just eat?
Some of them probably did, but like some of like
were they being paid not to eat or something, or were they?
No. Most of the guys. So what they did was terrible.
In Minneapolis,
they all the people in the study did volunteer to be a part of the study, and a lot of those guys are proud of what they did because they feel like the research that they were able to assist with did help figure out how to feed a lot of the starving people in Europe and how many calories they needed to build them back up and how slowly to feed them to get them back healthy.
Just use actual starving people.
I mean,
we had to pay people to starve.
But a study like that would never happen now, though. They would never repeat a study like that now.
How did they find that many people with the willpower to not eat? That's the crazy part.
I mean, obviously some people dropped out of it, but it's...
I've never heard of this study.
Oh, really?
Ever.
Oh, it's really crazy how like it was a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
And it was all guys that were, like most of them were like super religious. So they were, because that's why they were conscious objectors and that kind of thing. So
it was like fasting for them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
but it wasn't. But
like they're now the.
But it extended out to a point that it was beyond the amount of time that study took on. It was beyond the level of fasting. I think it was either 6 months or a year that I think they capped them off at something like 250 calories a day, or maybe it was 500. Well, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember the exact numbers. But that's one of the examples that people give of the horrible things that scientists did before we had modern ethics in terms of the way they do research and studies.
Huh. I've never heard of that story ever.
Me neither.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it, but
that's okay.
Oh, did you? Oh, by the way, going back to a previous conversation we had on this podcast, did you see that a kid just got arrested in Canada because he wouldn't do pronouns?
Oh no!
Did he say sorry?
Just wanted to point out that did actually happen, since that was such an argument. Now it is actually.
He's still talking about it. End of episode. Thanks for coming in, James. Good to see you again. I can tell you this: that I consider evil. That not Elon Musk.
Technically, he was arrested for trespassing.
I am interested in this. It's interesting that you have your perspective on it. Like, I was curious because when Trundy said that yesterday, like, oh, people already have their opinion. Like, I was like, I don't think one way or the other really about him. I think
Dude,
he's
this whole time I was fucking with you. I think Elon Musk is great.
He's great and he's annoying.
No,
you know what I mean?
I have honestly, like, I mean, I don't think he's a monster. I just it does annoy me that so many people were for so long so like Elon Musk is awesome, and then as soon as he bought Twitter, all of a sudden he got framed as this villain. But I just always thought he was a douche. No, he's not a monster. He's a douchebag.
Okay.
Like, he's a douchebag, and nobody should have that much money. Like, nobody should ever have access to that kind of money.
That's the kind of statement that makes my mind go, like, when you're like, nobody should have that money. I'm like, I think that's kind of a blanket statement of like, nobody should have it. It makes me, a part of me recoils and be like, I don't know. I think I can find somebody.
I feel like you can only say that when you don't conceptualize truly how much money like $50 billion is. It's
how much do we spend on our military budget every year?
Well, I mean, but again, that's in the trillions with 330 million people contributing into the system. It's not the same thing. It's one person out of 330 million having that much. It's crazy that a human, there's no way Elon Musk, if he was counting by the thousands,
I don't disagree with that.
If he was counting by the thousands, he could not count how much money he has between now and when he dies.
You know what there isn't? There isn't like a spiritual, there isn't a spiritual great, right, that has written and taught in the history of humanity that has been a billionaire, right? There's no billionaires that have written books that have helped us sort of become better humans, like from the inside out. Would you agree with that? You don't agree that that's even a thing.
Well, I don't know. Of the great thinkers in history, the ones that you and I would put on that list, the Gandhis, the Martin Luther Kings, most of them did, even if I'm not Christian, but like the most Jesus's positive teachings,
okay, Marcus Aurelius.
It's give away your wealth and help the poor is kind of a universal.
So Marcus Aurelius was at that level, probably billionaire, leader of the world, blah,
right.
blah. And then he sort of, not to his people, but he ended up leaving a book of sort of profoundness for people.
He also had sex with little boys.
So him is probably one.
So I'm not totally going to get my ethics from him. But.
And Buddha went the other way. The Buddha was like a prince, Gautama or whatever his name was originally. He was a prince and had everything.
Well, Muhammad was a warlord. Like he was, he was he was pretty rich too. So.
Well, he didn't start that way. He built that by being a warlord. Like he started with very little or nothing.
Well, I would assume that's somewhere along the lines of an Elon Musk thing, where Elon Musk didn't start off with $80 billion, but he started off with a couple of million.
And then he pillaged other people and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're saying Elon Musk is like Muhammad?
Possibly.
Okay.
And in 2000 or 1200 years, there might be a really shitty religion built around him too. There's already probably one around Steve Jobs.
How could he not be? If you're in that position and you can program things and you should program yourself as God.
He can't program. Elon Musk is not a good, he can't even do web coding. He doesn't even understand HTML coding. Like this guy's not.
It's interesting. I don't know to take your word for it. That's what I'm excited about this book. I'm going to learn about this guy, and that'll be a big key in how I feel about him by the end of this book.
Foreword by James Hodge.
Yes. Okay, but I want to go back. So Buddha gave up on being a prince and a ruler and blah, blah, and a family, and then started his thing and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah. So he discovered whatever he discovered. How the truth is within you and your blah, blah, blah. But he was also a deadbeat dad, right? Because he just left his wife and child.
Yeah.
So is the Gautama the Buddha a shitty person or a great example of where we need to reach for spiritually?
Well, like when it comes to like the Jesus stuff, we have no idea what he was doing for the first 30 years. And if his father was following his duty, then he did find him a wife. So that means Jesus was married. Like otherwise his father would have failed in his duties.
Right.
So.
Well, didn't he already? That's why she had to go with the other dude.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, man. Could you imagine being your arranged marriage to some 15-year-old girl? You're like a 13-year-old girl. You're like 22, 23, and you're like, I have to take this freaking child bride, and now she's pregnant, and it's God's baby. Like that guy, the dowry he must have gotten off her parents,
Right.
was enough to start a good carpentry business.
Yes. Okay. We're
Very
done.
profound.
I don't want to go.